What if I told you that some of the foods sitting in your kitchen right now could be slowly damaging your brain? That your daily habits might be setting you up for memory problems, confusion, and even dementia later in life? Today, we're going to explore 5 common foods that science shows are harming your brain health, and more importantly, what you can do about it. Welcome back to the channel. I'm here to help you make informed decisions about your health, especially as we navigate the second half of life. If you're over 45, you've probably started thinking more seriously about staying sharp, maintaining your memory, and protecting yourself from cognitive decline. The good news is that many of these concerns are within your control, starting with what you put on your plate. Research has identified certain foods that consistently harm brain function. These aren't exotic ingredients. They're everyday items that millions of people consume without realizing the long-term consequences. Let's dive into the science and learn how to protect one of your most valuable assets, your mind. The first brain destroyer hiding in plain sight is sugary drinks. I'm talking about sodas, energy drinks, sports drinks, and yes, even many fruit juices. These beverages are loaded with simple sugars, particularly something called high fructose corn syrup, which is about 55% fructose and 45% glucose. Here's what happens when you regularly consume these drinks. The excess sugar doesn't just affect your waistline, it goes straight to your brain. Studies have shown that people who drink sugary beverages regularly have a significantly higher risk of developing dementia. The hippocampus, which is the brain region responsible for learning and forming new memories, is particularly vulnerable to this sugar damage. Think about it this way. Every time you reach for that afternoon cola or sports drink, you're essentially bathing your brain in sugar. Over months and years, this creates inflammation and damages the very neural pathways you need for clear thinking and memory formation. The scary part is how common this is. The average American consumes about 17 teaspoons of added sugar daily, with sugary drinks being the biggest contributor. If you're drinking just one 12-ounce soda per day, you're getting about 10 teaspoons of sugar in that single beverage. What can you do instead? Start by replacing sugary drinks with water, herbal teas, or sparkling water with a splash of natural fruit juice. Your brain will thank you for making this simple switch. The second brain destroyer is trans fats, and these are particularly insidious because they're often hidden in foods we don't suspect. You'll find trans fats in margarine, many packaged snacks, commercially baked goods like cookies and cakes, and fried foods such as donuts and French fries. Trans fats are artificial fats created through a chemical process that makes liquid oils solid at room temperature. While this process helps preserve food and extend shelf life, it creates a substance that your body struggles to process properly. Research has shown that people with higher levels of trans fats in their blood, particularly something called lactic acid, have a significantly increased risk of developing dementia. These fats don't just harm your heart, they cross the blood-brain barrier and directly interfere with brain function. Here's what makes trans fats so dangerous for your brain. They increase inflammation throughout your body, including in your brain tissue. They also interfere with the brain's ability to use glucose effectively, which is its primary fuel source. Over time, This can lead to memory problems, difficulty concentrating, and increased risk of cognitive decline. The challenge is that trans fats aren't always clearly labeled. Look for phrases like partially hydrogenated oils on ingredient lists. That's your red flag. Even products labeled as having zero trans fats can legally contain up to 0.5 grams per serving. To protect your brain, focus on cooking at home with natural fats, like olive oil, avocado oil, or coconut oil. When you do buy packaged foods, read those ingredient labels carefully. The third category of brain destroyers is ultra-processed foods. These are products that have been heavily modified from their original state and are typically loaded with added sugars, unhealthy fats, excessive salt, and artificial additives. Think about foods like potato chips, instant noodles, frozen dinners, packaged snacks, and most fast food items. These foods are designed to be convenient and tasty, but they come at a significant cost to your brain health. Ultra-processed foods create a perfect storm of brain damage. First, they're typically very low in the nutrients your brain needs to function properly. Things like omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and B vitamins. Second, they're high in ingredients that actively harm your brain, including refined sugars, artificial additives, and inflammatory fats. When you regularly consume these foods, you're creating chronic inflammation in your brain. This inflammation damages neurons and interferes with the communication between brain cells. Over time, this can lead to memory problems, difficulty concentrating, and increased risk of neurodegenerative diseases. There's also emerging research showing that ultra-processed foods can actually change the structure of your brain. Studies using MRI scans have found that people who eat more ultra-processed foods have less gray matter in areas of the brain responsible for executive function and memory. The solution isn't to go completely cold turkey overnight. That rarely works long-term. Instead, start by replacing one ultra-processed food with a whole food alternative each week. Swap chips for nuts, instant noodles for homemade soup, or packaged snacks for fresh fruit. The fourth brain destroyer might surprise some people because we often hear about the potential benefits of moderate alcohol consumption. While a glass of red wine with dinner might not be harmful for everyone, excessive drinking is absolutely devastating to brain health. Alcohol affects your brain in multiple ways. In the short term, it disrupts the communication pathways between brain cells, making it harder to process new information and form memories. We've all experienced this, that fuzzy feeling after a few drinks where it's hard to think clearly. But the long-term effects of excessive drinking are far more serious. Chronic heavy drinking can cause permanent brain damage, leading to conditions like alcoholic dementia. It can also increase your risk of depression, anxiety, and other mood disorders. Here's what's particularly concerning. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at processing alcohol. What might have been a moderate amount of drinking in our 20s can become excessive in our 50s and 60s. The brain becomes more vulnerable to alcohol's toxic effects as we get older. Research has shown that people who drink heavily have smaller brain volumes and perform worse on cognitive tests. The areas of the brain responsible for decision-making, problem-solving, and impulse control are particularly affected. If you choose to drink, moderation is key. The general recommendation is no more than 1 drink per day for women and 2 for men. But honestly, when it comes to brain health, less is more. Consider having alcohol-free days each week and focus on other ways to unwind and socialize. The 5th and final brain destroyer is artificial sweeteners. These are found in diet sodas, sugar-free snacks, low-calorie desserts, and many products marketed as healthy alternatives to sugar. Common artificial sweeteners include aspartame, sucralose, and saccharin. While these were supposed to be the solution to our sugar problem, emerging research suggests they might be creating new problems for our brains. Studies have shown that artificial sweeteners can alter the balance of neurotransmitters in your brain. These are the chemical messengers that allow brain cells to communicate. This disruption can affect mood, memory, and cognitive function. There's also research suggesting that people who regularly consume artificial sweeteners have an increased risk of stroke and dementia compared to those who don't use them. While the evidence is still developing, the pattern is concerning enough to warrant caution. One theory is that artificial sweeteners confuse your brain's reward system. When you taste something sweet, your brain expects calories and nutrients to follow. When they don't arrive, it can disrupt your metabolism and potentially affect brain function. The irony is that many people turn to artificial sweeteners to avoid the brain-damaging effects of sugar, only to potentially create different problems. The solution is to gradually reduce your overall preference for sweet tastes, whether they come from sugar or artificial alternatives. Try switching to naturally flavored sparkling water, herbal teas, or simply learning to appreciate the natural flavors of whole foods without added sweeteners. Now that we've covered these 5 brain destroyers, let's talk about the bigger picture. The foods we've discussed today don't just affect your brain in isolation. They're part of a larger pattern of inflammation and metabolic dysfunction that affects your entire body. When you regularly consume sugary drinks, trans fats, ultra-processed foods, excessive alcohol, and artificial sweeteners, you're creating a cascade of problems. Your blood sugar becomes unstable. Inflammation increases throughout your body. Your cardiovascular system suffers, and your brain pays the price. But here's the encouraging news. Your brain has a remarkable ability to heal and regenerate, especially when you give it the right conditions. When you clean up your diet and start feeding your brain properly, you can often see improvements in memory, focus, and mental clarity within just a few weeks. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Small, consistent changes in your eating habits can lead to significant improvements in your brain health over time. Every healthy choice you make is an investment in your cognitive future. So what should you eat to protect and nourish your brain? Focus on whole, unprocessed foods that are rich in the nutrients your brain needs to thrive. Fatty fish, like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, provide omega-3 fatty acids that are essential for brain health. Leafy green vegetables, like spinach and kale, are packed with folate and other B vitamins that support cognitive function. Berries are loaded with antioxidants that protect brain cells from damage. Nuts and seeds provide healthy fats and vitamin E, which has been shown to slow cognitive decline. Whole grains provide steady energy for your brain, while foods like turmeric and dark chocolate contain compounds that can improve memory and protect against age-related cognitive decline. The Mediterranean diet, which emphasizes these types of foods, has been extensively studied and consistently shows protective effects against cognitive decline and dementia. It's not a restrictive diet. It's a sustainable way of eating that can protect your brain while still being enjoyable. If you're feeling overwhelmed by all this information, don't worry. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Here are some practical steps you can take starting today. First, identify which of these 5 brain destroyers you consume most often. Is it the afternoon soda, the morning pastry, the late-night processed snacks? Start with your biggest problem area. Second, make one small substitution each week. Replace that soda with sparkling water and lemon. Swap the processed snacks for a handful of nuts. Choose olive oil instead of margarine for cooking. Third, focus on adding brain-healthy foods before you worry about removing everything else. When you're eating more nutrient-dense foods, you'll naturally have less room and desire for the harmful ones. Fourth, read ingredient labels. Knowledge is power, and understanding what's in your food is the first step toward making better choices. Finally, be patient with yourself. Changing eating habits takes time, and there will be setbacks. The goal is progress, not perfection. Your brain is your most valuable asset, and the foods you choose to eat every day are either protecting it or harming it. The 5 foods we've discussed today, sugary drinks, trans fats, ultra-processed foods, excessive alcohol, and artificial sweeteners, are common in our modern diet, but they're quietly damaging our cognitive health. The good news is that you have the power to change this. Every meal is an opportunity to nourish your brain and protect your cognitive future. By making informed choices about what you eat, you're taking control of your brain health and setting yourself up for a sharper, clearer mind as you age. Remember, it's never too late to start taking better care of your brain. Whether you're 45 or 75, the changes you make today can have a significant impact on your cognitive health tomorrow. If you found this information helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content about healthy aging and brain health. In the comments below, let me know which of these 5 foods you're most surprised to learn about and what changes you're planning to make. Next week, we'll be talking about the top 10 foods that can actually boost your brain power and protect against cognitive decline. You won't want to miss that one. Thanks for watching, and remember, your brain health is in your hands. Make choices today that your future self will thank you for.